Morning, Dad.
Good morning, Joanne. That was not said with enthusiasm, Joanne.
No, sorry, I've done well. Another war breaking out is pretty overwhelming.
Oh, God.
It's a horror. This is a horror.
It is a real horror. You're absolutely, unfortunately, correct.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I was just about to start practice on Saturday morning when I heard about it, so I kind of blew that. God.
Yeah.
And I think as so often happens, particularly in when Israel's involved, people just take sides and so demonize the other. It's so horrible to watch the news and hear, everyone in Gaza being called animals, and then
Yeah.
so then we can justify killing them all. The nuances of the reality of the history is kind of lost in each side seeing their own,
Yep.
and yeah.
Well,
So yeah.
I these days particularly, I'm sticking to my no news in the morning.
Yep. No, I think that's best. I think I did not listen this morning. I was like, no, I can't. I know what they're going to say. It's just kind of, it gets worse every day, but it doesn't get very different, and it's like, yep. Rick last night was, let's watch the news and hope we can watch the Republicans in disarray.
Well, be nice.
All right. Wow, yay.
Yeah, well, it does sound like maybe they're really going to get Trump this time. But I'm not holding my breath.
No, it's all crazy. It's all crazy. I read something about Scalise last night. I didn't really know much about him. I was like, oh, God, he's dangerous. Too.
One after another.
Yeah, to the other. I mean, I think it's some of it's my Tai Chi and it's my working with the Community Land Trust. It's those things that kind of keep me, the things we can build and we can try to have some, creativity in, as opposed to always having to resist the crazy
Yeah.
and the horror and the violence. Anyway, yeah, where is everybody today?
I heard from Adam.
Is he
He
coming or he's
No, he's not. He's
in the
stuck,
midst of stuck at work?
stuck at work. I saw Bill Nagel yesterday, and he said he'd see me. Well, there's Bill Bynum.
So we
Hey,
got some people
Bill.
coming.
We're gonna get a Bill anyway.
Okay.
And Mr.
Bill
Nagel
in the may join us.
may be along. Who knows?
There he is. He's back in Virginia.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was the Cape?
I tried the Cape was wonderful.
Mm,
And it was great being with you guys last week too.
yeah.
Oh, good.
Last week, it was week before last.
2 weeks
Last
ago.
Wednesday, I
Never
was at the
was.
Cape. I've lost track of time.
That's
No,
what you get for being on the Cape.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
It's a nice warp in the fall, isn't it?
It
Yeah.
is.
Where do
It
you go
is.
in the Cape? Well, Bill, where do you go?
We were in a little shack in near Provincetown. It was a sand dune shack, so we were
Nice.
out remote and with an outhouse and a pump.
Ooh,
100 feet away or so from the shack. And
that's
So you
great.
got your exercise.
we did,
Oh,
yeah,
walking on the sand.
yeah. You put one of those 2.5 gallon jugs that has a spigot for water.
Uh-huh.
You mount that up above the sink, and then you dribble it out when you want to wash dishes and stuff. and then when it's empty, you have to go down and get more water to put in it. So
More, right.
Wow.
That's great, though. There's something about that simple living that just cleanses the soul, I think.
yeah, it's good. It wasn't entirely simple. There's a solar powered refrigerator, and there's a wood stove there to warm it
Nice.
up at night. So
Oh, that's good.
yeah. Although it was pretty great weather last week. It was so warm, I guess 3 nights we didn't even have a fire.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there were some warm nights last week, weren't there? Yeah, and then it got
Yeah.
chilly over the weekend. It's like,
Yeah, the
Whoa.
air changed.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
excuse me, I'm just looking to see here. Bill wrote to me.
Yeah, I had a problem getting on.
Really? I didn't know.
Yeah, I logged in using the regular, just the David Shaver's room, which drops down when you have Zoom on,
Yeah.
when it says join a meeting, and it said host has another meeting in progress.
Oh, yeah,
So
that
I
was
went back to your invitation. I cut and pasted the meeting number and got in fine.
right.
Uh,
I'll be right back while you're looking. 1 second.
okay.
Yeah. So if that's his problem, have him use just type in the meeting number instead of a link.
Bill, comma. I don't know why Zoom is having this problem today, but Bill Bynum had an issue too. He found that by cutting and pasting the meeting number in instead of trying to use the invitation, that he could get in. So you might
Yeah, I used the invitation though, David. I had no problem at all. Who knows?
try that.
Yeah, I just did it the usual way.
Yeah, the
And I
message
went
was
right to
host.
the link. I always do that. I just go right to whatever you sent that week. So.
Yeah, you may have been the first one in, I wonder.
I
But
was.
But why would that
Oh,
block everybody else? I don't
Yeah, I know. I didn't do anything.
so did you go in before David did?
No,
know.
No. Huh.
Uh-uh.
no, I went in at like 8:57. It was, I think, when I
Huh.
clicked it on.
I'm not a.
I only started the meeting once. I didn't start it twice.
Yeah,
Mhm. You know, these
Okay.
things just don't have an answer sometimes, I realize.
yeah.
Especially Zoom. They just like, yeah, I've been in more than one meeting where this kind of thing happens, or you have to start a whole new link because somehow it keeps telling people the meeting is in progress when it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No. Well, he's going to try to get in that way.
Okay.
I think we'll go ahead and start and hope he can join us.
Good.
Organizing Cats Day, David.
What?
This is trying to organize Cats Day. I can tell. As soon as you think you've got us all, you don't.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, any twisting questions?
Yeah, I have to admit, I did not. It's been so crazy since we got back. I did not spend the time with the last week's lesson.
Okay.
I've been doing mental twisting or something.
Something. Well,
Yeah.
David, but on getting in, I did close down my Zoom window and then reopened it before I typed I don't know if that had anything to do with it for
oh,
Bill Knight,
well,
but he'll try stuff, I'm sure.
yeah. Well, if he has a problem, he'll get in touch with me.
Okay.
Um, so, uh, we went into twisting in some depth um, last week,
Mhm.
and I guess if you don't have a question, and since you didn't have a chance to look at it, um, I can understand you might not. I think what I'd like though is for you to do a flow, um, and it could be a fairly brief one. Let's say 6 repetitions, um, and let me see how clear you are on the twisting that you're doing at the moment, and we'll
Okay, good.
Okay.
Did you try going out of Zoom and then coming back in again? Don't know what to tell you, Bill. Muted. Joanne and Bill Bynum muted him. Adam couldn't come today. Sorry, I am recording. She's much better. So were there any places where you felt like you didn't know what you wanted to be doing?
Um, There were places where I remembered after I did the first one backwards, and
It often takes,
Mistakes are always a good way of learning.
yep. No, I can identify with that, Bill. Um,
I feel like in up through 5, I'm not always doing it correctly, but I feel like I know what I should be doing. Or like with Bill, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Like I think in 4, I adjusted as I kind of felt my baby fingers kind of hitting each other at some point on the way down. And then it's like, nope, kind of
Yep.
like, but I knew, and it was very helpful after the in-person lesson, particularly with 4. I still feel like I'm struggling with 6, just in the ways that my hands come down and I'm not making that energetic connection. And I feel like parts of 7 I'm really good at, parts of it I'm not. So I'm still working on that one.
so in 7, what are you good at and what are you struggling with?
Well, I still feel like the front crane neck is too stiff, or that I'm like, I understand the parts and pieces, but that feels stiff. On the other hand, both the sides, and I feel like I have the back correct. I feel like I need to keep practicing more the flow, because there's this like split second stop at each of the corners. But
Yeah.
there's still something about the front of the crane neck that feels stiff. And I don't feel that once I begin moving around as much as I do at the front. And I can't quite figure out why.
Do you think it's related to the rotation at the midriff?
Oh, I mean, I feel like I'm trying to work on that whole rotation.
Yeah.
Let's think more about that. I mean, it does feel more like it's this part that's the problem. This part is the problem.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting my arms more with the rotation. That part feels like it's coming together. And again, I didn't get a lot of practice in this week, so I didn't try to kind of see how I could correct it as much as I
Yeah. It it felt to me like you were doing quite well at rotating the neck, but the midriff wasn't circling very much.
No.
Um,
Mhm.
and since we're talking about that with Bill, the problem was that he was bending too much
Mm.
into that rather than simply circling.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so let me. Actually, maybe I should leave this.
Yeah, we'd like to see your head.
Yeah. You want to see my head? Can't imagine why.
That's my main problem, my head.
So, let me get. Okay. So one of the problems that I was feeling for you, Bill, just since I've mentioned that, was I felt like you were getting into doing this,
Yes.
and it is just a rotation at the midriff. There's no. I'm not moving my head now. I'm deliberately just, but your rotation is here, and it's not. You're not bending into it.
Okay.
Um, the kind of the problem in a way is getting the freedom of that rotation at the midriff, but coordinating it with the neck so that they are both working together. And it's I think with the forward position is simply making sure that you maintain the crane's neck and don't let it collapse at all.
So that collapse meaning don't let your chin drop, right?
Yeah.
Is one aspect of that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Because there is kind of a tendency once you get into the crane neck and you start to go forward, sometimes there's a tendency to bend, and I've just closed it off. And of course, in going back, you could have the same problem. You lose it, and you bend back too much, and that closes off the energy. So it's finding the crane neck, keeping it relaxed and lengthened while it circles. And both the neck and the midriff are circling together. One of the things, I'm not sure, I think I said this, but I might mention it. Bruce, at one point in talking about this, said one way to be aware if you're getting that movement correct is that if you don't have it correct, you'll feel like you're going to fall over in one direction or another. Whereas if you have it correct, it is absolutely stable. And I found that helpful. I don't know whether you will or not. Do you have other questions about 7 while we're talking about it?
Yeah. I'm one of my biggest problems with 7 with my current is I have too much tension, particularly in the upper part of my neck and the upper back.
Yep.
And I'm not feeling, I'm feeling sort of forced movement. It's moving, but it's not relaxed.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm too much muscles. I'm not zoned in on relaxing up there.
Right, right. So here's a question. It feels stupid, but it's not stupid. What are we leading with? I feel like Bill and I are leading with our neck muscles, and that's wrong. I feel that when I am going into a crane's neck and I concentrate more on the top of my head, then everything else relaxes more. So I feel like there's a force here that both of us are trying to that we're trying to get past or relax. But then something other than our midriff is moving our head, particularly if it's moving in that crane neck position. That's, I think, what I'm trying to grasp.
So I think you're right that the crown of the head really is leading the movement. The key for me, the key to this whole movement is finding the ability, the openness to lengthen into the crane neck and not stretch into the crane.
Yeah.
And getting that release into the crane neck, and then holding on to that release, not letting it get stiff, letting it remain flexible, but you don't lose it. The crane neck stays through the entire movement.
Mhm.
Yep.
Um, I, I know I'm not, maybe not being terribly helpful about that because I'm not sure that I can do much more without having you here to see you a
Mhm.
little better and be able to put my hands on your head.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's helpful. I think, having, the rotation brings a little twist into it, but you don't lose the crane's neck. So, what I've been doing is locking up the crane's neck muscularly, and
Right.
then the move, then the movement is more of a tension than a relaxation and an opening.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
So,
what I find puzzling is I feel like I can do, by the time I'm to the side and to the back, I feel like I am doing it that way. As soon as I get back to the front, there is a stretching, not a lengthening. I think that's, yeah,
yeah.
that's my part of my mistake, my
So
problem.
maybe make it a little smaller to the front.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I will say that practicing it on the Cape, maybe there was just so much external energy that was pushing me along. It could feel real good. You hear the wind and the waves and the tree swallows help a lot.
yeah.
There is something about doing it when you're away and you're more relaxed and you're in a beautiful place.
Yeah, and I could do it 2 or 3 times a day without
Right.
because
Yeah.
that's what you could do.
Sure. Sure. Um, it's about movement two. One of the things we're going to look at today, we're going to look at movement four actually, but principally, but one of the things that I'm really going to talk about today are the transitions between the twisting in and twisting out and making those transitions absolutely smooth and continuous. And that's going on with every posture, of course. Um, and I guess one of the things I felt about movement two was that you had a tendency to twist in too high so that you hadn't started the twist out at the point at which you had brought the energy into your dantian. So once you've arrived at the dantian, the twisting out begins immediately. And then you're twisting in to the dantian. And I'm not bending a lot here because I want you to see that my wrists are crossing at the dantian, or as close to it as you can. Obviously, length of arms and size of body affect that. Joanne's point about rounding the corners was very clear in 3, and that's the hard one with that because there's no question you're twisting in, twisting out, and you have to try to not have that twisting out pause twist in, no matter how brief. So that transition for both of you, I think, is one that you could work on. For Joanne, you caught your hands coming in towards us.
Yeah.
They were good at first, and then they drifted in, and then they went back out again.
Back again once. That was a little wake up call there, right?
Yeah. So that was good. We're going to work on 4, so I'm not going to talk about that very much at the moment. 5, I felt one of the things you got to remember about 5 is that you are continuing to do the quafold as the arms rise, twisting in, bringing the energy up the central channel to the crown of your head.
Mhm.
And then it's twisting out and down to the qua. And what I was seeing was a tendency to do like 2 to get into the center and come right up. But it isn't. You're continuing to sink into that
Yeah.
quad fold, and then you rise as you're twisting out.
Yeah. Okay.
One of the things on 5, David, and I think you said this to me maybe when we were in person, is that I was actually probably bending too low. I think I was using my thigh muscles rather than my C curve.
Right. Yeah, I'm being a little large here at the moment, so you can see what I'm doing. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
that can be quite small.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
To go down. Yeah. Right. The going down is not your legs going down.
yeah, not very much.
Right. A little bit. Yeah. Obviously. But yeah, I think I was doing a lot more of that. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, Bill, particularly for you, the transition between 5 and 6. When that starts with a twisting into the dantian, and then you've got to round that movement and go out so that you get a smooth transition. You came down and kind of ended about here and then started up.
Yes. Yeah. I was just making it up.
Well, we haven't worked a lot on that, um, but had talked about that, I think, and it is
Yeah, I
important.
think you did too. I just lost it. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of 5, you have to come into the dantian and then go out and up and down. Good. Other questions? Bill has decided not to
Not
struggle.
to try any longer.
Yeah,
That's frustrating.
yeah. I, that's weird. I have no idea what's going on with that.
Yeah. 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 If we're playing with the technology was our goal, you could restart the meeting, but and
Well, I could have done that, but I'm not sure that it would have made a difference.
I don't know. Yeah.
So I want to really look at movement 4, and I think the beginning point that I want to make is that in movement 4, you have to really want to be focusing on every single time at every point that your twisting shifts from inward to outward and outward to inward. Because that's where you really have to concentrate. Because you have to be able to have the sense of how your energy is moving up and now how it changes without stopping to moving down. And that's in part because most people get to the top and they take a stop for some reason. They pause and then they turn in. This is absolutely not what you want to do. What you want is that when that motion at the very end of its one way turns in, you want to seamlessly to flow into the other direction. So we've all learned the basic movements of 4, but I'm going to just go through them and try to be really specific about this. So when we obviously when we come to the end of 3, we have actually started twisting in as we come to 12. And ideally we have brought the elbows in, and we continue that twisting in as we go down the side channels to the quad. And one of the things is here that you're simply twisting in as you come down. We had twisted out, so we're following the little finger edge here. So you have a twisting in, and you want to make sure you don't freeze, but this continues to twist in as you come down to the quad. And then that's the first step. This is the first transition. You begin to twist out. And this is the one where we seem to lose it or abbreviate it or not do it completely. You need to actually get those hands to go out, twist out to the side so that the backs of the hands are facing out and the fingertips are facing straight down. This is partly, not only are we feeling the extent of the etheric body, but this is how the energy goes down, gets sent down to the feet and into the etheric body below our feet. And then, having twisted out, we have to continue in part 3, twisting out as we come up. And as you come in to the side channels, you want to get the elbows in. And then you begin twisting in as you come down.
Mm-hmm.
And then you want to make sure you really complete this movement before you go to the next one. And then make sure you get into the side channels and keep the twisting going. And the real difficult part really is to make sure that you complete each part, but make every transition absolutely seamless and constant. And so finding that continuous transition there is part of what we're trying to accomplish. Let's see. There's probably, yeah. So this continuous turning is important because the purpose of this is to get the energy from the left and right channels into every channel that's on the left and right sides of the body, and to fill the entirety of your body with energy and its movement. Okay. So many people don't actually complete the turning all the way to the side. They sometimes just start to the side and then start lifting right away. They don't actually think of it as a separate movement, a separate part of the movement. So you want to make sure you complete that. So making each part clear. So now you know what the main turnover points are. At each of the turnover points, the twisting of your arms and the twisting of your legs is going to change as well. So if you are twisting in when you go down to the quad, you're twisting out when you go to the sides, but not all the way out, because you have to continue twisting out to the top. And then when you come in, you're twisting in the entire time your hands are dropping. It has to be a continuous circular flow. Okay? Any questions at the moment?
No.
Okay. So what I'd like you to do is to do what I did. I'm going to stop you at the those turnover points the first time through. So start from 12 like you are at the end of 3.
Mm-hmm.
So start twisting in and dropping down, and then stop when you get down to the quad. Now, one of the things I would say is that you don't have to be at palms up at this point. I noticed both of you almost as if you're holding a pot there. it depends on what is happening, but it doesn't have to be palms up. It is primarily focused on the twisting in. And then in the second part, you're going to begin twisting out and take the back of your hands out to the sides with the fingers pointing straight down. And just pause there for a moment. And so part of that position, I might mention, is that the fingertips are actually aimed towards your feet. They're not, I say straight down, they're really turned in slightly, and you'll find that having them rotate just that far will help the energy sink down through your legs.
Uh-huh.
And now continue twisting out as you go up. And pause at the top. Now at the top, actually your Joanne, your palms should be facing forward.
Right. Yep. I went too slow.
Yep. But, and you, at this point, you want the sense that you've brought the energy into your side channels. And then you begin twisting in and twist down, and just keep flowing for a minute. So find how you can keep that twisting going all the way down and then transition to out. And really be clear about that part 2. Finding the extent of your etheric body and energy down to the bottom of your feet and then up. So in this movement, the energy is going up the side channels and down the side channels, as well as up your etheric body and down your etheric body. You want to endeavor to have your elbows on the side channels when you arrive at the top. And then, of course, they have to spread as you twist down and in. Okay, so with the next one, just let your arms relax down. So do either of you have a question about that? Okay.
Good to have more definition at the bottom. Which
Yeah.
I think I was just sloppy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, you really have to think about it being those separate parts and the transitions, the transition or turnover points being really, really clear
Mhm.
Mhm.
so that you can make that transition smoothly.
Yeah, you didn't specifically talk about it, but I think coordinating that with the C curve and then expanding up will be a lot more energetic, getting that hand's transition right.
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's important. Well, the C curve, what I was starting to say was don't overdo the C curve.
Mhm.
On the other hand, in the beginning, you really need to do it enough that you are really clearly aware of it. At the end of this, the notes today, you'll find an exercise that you may want to do. It's really done on all fours on the floor or in bed even. But if you get on all fours and then you actually bring the head and the pelvis towards each other, you arch the back up, which stretches that posterior ligament. And then you go down and in the opposite direction, and it stretches the anterior ligament. And it's just an exercise to help you to feel that, since what you do with the C curve, you want to feel. You know, it's not just a physical movement; it's an energetic movement as well, as all of them are. So it's good to be really clear about feeling it, but not overdoing it.
Mhm. I think in thinking about this, I feel the energy going down much more than going up.
Hmm.
I'm not sure why. I do feel also the leading with the little finger on the way down is a strong piece of that. I think. I don't know.
Yeah. Huh.
But then I feel like I lose it a little at the bottom.
Hmm.
No, why? But I'll work on that.
Um, well, I think a part of that is really, really opening to feeling the energy going out, because what happens here is we have both a lateral movement and a dropping,
Yeah, right.
so that you really have two directions you have to feel, not just one.
Right.
But I think being really clear about that, I don't know, that movement out to me is really powerful. That really clarifies the connection into the etheric body.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep. Okay. Yep.
so really letting yourself really feel that. In practicing this posture, I found that slowing that piece down a little and then going up, that helps me, just gave me time to experience it a little more
Okay.
clearly,
Yep.
I guess. So you might try that.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't, I mean, we've just done it with these new, but having the fingers, when the fingers point and you get that energetic earth connection, it does seem after I was with the limited amount of doing, at starting up, there was less energy coming up until we're getting to the top.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like I should be doing, have a little more intention with the coming up part, besides just remembering to get my elbows in.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's coming. It's almost there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's the phrase, "It's not the destination, it's the trip," comes to mind. Yeah. If I'm thinking about getting to the top as the destination, then I'm missing the whole trip.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. You got to stay present with the trip. You're absolutely
Gotta
correct.
stay present with the trip. Yeah.
Good. Well, that should give you enough to work on this
Oh,
week.
that's great. Yeah.
So, any other last minute questions at the moment? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have a smooth transition back to real life, Bill.
Oh, it's been crazy, but I'm not going to go into that.
I probably don't need to know.
Yeah,
No.
no, and you need a break from telling it probably.
Good. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. There's I can't remember which of Thich Nhat Hanh's books, where he talks about our inclination to venting, right? And thinking it's actually a vent and it will release it, but it really actually gives it energy too often. So
Yeah.
that when we have a problem, rather than saying it over and over and over again, and some people really,
Yeah.
then you're giving it a life of its own, as opposed to actually venting it out and letting it go away.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there have been some pretty horrible stories. Did you see the whole thing about the loan scam that's been going on in India and Asia
No,
um, has driven people to commit suicide.
my God, no, I missed this somehow, thankfully. So it's so people are borrowing and then
Well,
is it like a loan shark kind of a thing?
no, it's they they get people to install their app, and their app steals all their information and their pictures, and then blackmails them with
Oh God.
pictures and information. And apparently, some of it's been pretty awful, and people have literally said that in India alone there have been 60 suicides
Gosh.
because of that. I, I thought, God, what else can we have going on?
Yeah, really?
Uh,
No, thankfully I haven't. No, yesterday or the day before, and I think I might have my language wrong on this, but I don't know whether they're called the llama, but did you but I read an article in the Times. It was the other day. I often read old Times. I mean, old. They're they're not like weeks old, but sometime last week on the Mongolian llama, on
Oh.
the recreation, on his reincarnation. And it's fascinating. I'll see if I can save. I'll find. Well, I just read it. I think it was only last night. And so it's very interesting because, of course, the role of China, whether it's Tibet or Mongolia, right? And the Mongolians had been, the last Lama was Tibetan, because Mongolians are basically do to have embrace Tibetan Buddhism.
Right.
Right. So it's just fascinating around both the finding of the reincarnate child and the role of the Chinese, the role of the Tibetans, the role of the Dalai Lama, the role of the family.
Yeah.
He is an identical twin. So that's an interesting kind of, the parents trying to raise him kind of normally, but also him spending significant time with the monks every day in his spiritual learnings. Just
Oh, wow. That's
fascinating. I'll have it. I can stick it in an envelope for you. That would probably be easy.
Oh, I'd love to read
It's
it.
a really long article, really quite in depth. Very interesting. Yeah.
Cool. Well, any Tai Chi questions?
No, I did not do a flow this week, and I really need to get back to that. I did a little practice of, I do not want to lose what I gain with the gods, right? So I feel like because it's newer to me than the flow, what little practice I did do, because I feel like even when I tell myself I have no time, I can make time for a flow of at least 6 each. Like if I do that, then I don't lose it. And then next day I want to increase the number, right?
Yeah.
And if I don't do it, it feels harder to, I'll have to do so much more. So I did do that a few times this week.
Well, that's good.
I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the trick. You've always got that time. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, was it, I think it's Bill Ryan that said, don't only commit to doing 1 minute of practice a day, because if you do 1 minute, you'll probably do a little bit more.
You never really do 1 minute. That's right. That's right. Right. And I feel like sometimes I go, I do need to slow down. Sometimes I'm like,
You, Joanne?
me, yeah, it's like, because I don't want this to just be another thing I check off my list for the day. But yeah, I do find that helps significantly. in practicing every day. I mean, unless the children wake me up and then they're
Yeah.
hard to get that, but,
I think, having put as much into this as you have at this point, that even to do just 6 is much better than not doing any,
yeah, right,
and keeps it alive, keeps your body growing with it.
right, right. No, I feel that. I've been doing that for a while now, so,
Well,
yeah.
that's great. Good.
But I'm afraid, and I do want to go back. I'm not quite, I just still need to get back into remembering where I go from each cloud hands, or to get into each cloud hands. And then to the next.
Yes.
Again, that's just practice, yeah. But yes, I don't have any other questions. I did I look forward to your notes. I always print them out. I always read them and underline them. I made a few more notes myself today, both the midriff and number 4 notes. So 4 and 7 will need to be, a little extra practice. And when we do that, David, is there a way, what do you advise for either just doing them, or when I get to them, doing more of them? Or does that matter at this point?
The recommendation is not to do 7 alone, because the postures 2 through 6 prepare you to do
Right. Well, that's why I asked. It doesn't feel like just doing 7 makes. I
No.
don't.
On the other hand, you could do more repetitions of 7 if you want with the flow, in order to get a little more practice with that. That's acceptable. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. All right.
Okay, well,
Good.
hang in there. Don't be overwhelmed by the
No.
wars.
I mean, I think at some point you realize this is what you can do and you can't do.
Yeah. Which must be really frustrating
Well,
sometimes.
it is, especially when you hear some of the horrible things you hear about the other side, and the ahistorical, this land has always for 75 years, been ahistorical, particularly the Israeli history. People just don't understand why. Why do the Palestinians hate us? Well, this was not a land without a people.
Yeah.
This is a land with a people.
Right.
And that fact is just disregarded too often. So, and people, of course, it is like 9/11, when people feel attacked, they join together, and they join together against the other side, and that they get blinded at some point. I mean, that's kind of part of what happens in war. They get blinded with hatred and revenge. Yep. Which, of course, then it plants the seeds for the next war.
Yeah.
For the ongoing war. It never really ends. And I think that's kind of hard. Knowing that, having that view makes it all the harder, because it's not just about what's going to happen right now. It's just the constant. You cannot wipe out all 2.5 million Palestinians in Gaza. No. And you can't keep them in a open air prison.
No.
I mean, they can't even get out on a boat. I mean, they can't do anything. It's just, the horror of it is just beyond me, and the horror of Hamas being so angry that they would, go into kibbutzes and kill people. I mean, it's horrible on all sides. Violence is horrible. So it is. It's just, you're right. I just I don't, keep the TV off, listen to news in moderation, and try to, search out the same statements that are being made, and keep sharing them in what ways I can. So, because there's a lot of crap out there too.
No kidding.
Not so much with my Facebook friends, but you do, or that kind of thing. But I also don't want to just be speaking to the convince, but I think there is a way that War Resisters League's job is to articulate things in a way that helps people talk about it.
Yep.
Some of us think about these more. Certainly, I work with a lot of people who have done a lot more work. There's a Jewish Voice for Peace, which is one of the first groups that came out with a really clear statement, right? And I think that, as a group that is very, allied with Palestinians, they have a very, and is against war, they have a very balanced kind of perspective. So kind of looking at those kinds of organizations and sharing that is to some degree the best.
Yeah.
Best I can, and not drop everything else I'm doing.
Yeah. As if you had.
But hearing this
else.
morning that Zelensky showed up at NATO headquarters, I'm sure he's going, uh-oh. When you hear on the news that, the issue is going to be, can American weapons manufacturers work fast enough to supply the same weapons to Israel and Ukraine? You're like, God, really? That's the big issue. Terrible, horrible.
It is.
So, yeah, I'm going to go try to do something around finances and the community land trust this morning.
Good.
To
Take your
think
mind
that
off
is
the
a
war.
nice thing to do.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, just money.
Right. Well, maybe have a positive end.
I think so. It's not like we don't have the money. It's like, how do we allot the money? That kind of like, where do we get this from there? So it's not a big challenge.
Oh, good. Good.
All right, David. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Right. Okay,
Bye.
you too. Bye-bye.